If you've been paying close attention to the Amazing Digital Circus, you know the video game world it's set in was created sometime in the 1990s. And that means two things. One is these modern style character designs should technically look more like retro game graphics instead. And two is there was a non-zero chance of the first abstraction being Biggie Smalls in the body of Lara Croft. Well, we're here to show you what it'd look like if these characters really did fit the authentic game aesthetics of yesteryear. Welcome to Super the Amazing Digital Circus Bros 64. Rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Coming to you from beautiful downtown Fortitude Valley, it's the Harry Gold Show, with your host, Harry Gold.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the program. The Amazing Digital Circus is a popular animated show about fun, motley misfits in various states of psychological collapse, all imprisoned in a content-farmably color-crammed video game world created by an AI named Kane. And like any souped-up chatbot worth its chip shortages, he was made by gorging the model on a fat stack of pictures and prose. But this was decades ago. Kane is 30 years old, which means everything he creates, even now, is still based entirely on 90s source material. Who does he think he is? An indie game dev? So take Jax for instance, everyone's favourite wisecracking lilac bag fumbler. When Kane creates a video game avatar body for him, knowing only what exists in the year of Garfield caught in the act, how would that turn out? The best process for divining the answer, in my unsurpassably humble opinion, is to look at the 90s video games he most evokes, then incestuously Ouroboros him back into that same aesthetic melange. So to my little eye, Jax's half-baked Roger Rabbit cosplay immediately brings to mind the classic platformer mascot aesthetic. Mario, Sonic, Crash, Spyro, except maybe he's more on the Jazz Jackrabbit and James Pond tier, but you get the picture. From Bugs Bunny's plus-size gloves to Mickey Mouse's flagrant exhibitionism, refusing to ever wear more than one article of clothing on his torso at a time, the 90s saw all the looniest of classic toon fashion trends back in style, with both Japanese and Western pro-tags alike. I mean, just look at Sonic. Take away the color and he's basically Felix the Cat with a mohawk and a cease and desist. So rather than Jax's current hyper-dilated Anya eyes and immovable railroad grin, in the 90s it'd have been the kind of Bluth-adjacent animal mascot that could just as easily be shilling cereal. Maybe Apple Jacks? And just to be clear here, I actually have no complaints about this show's designs. This isn't a critique per se. I'm just fascinated by aesthetic fidelity and recreating art styles in general, which leads me to exercises like this one. Aesthetically, it has the contemporary art style of the show's creator, Gooseworks. However, said VR world is still running on hardware that is one Dua Lipa old, and the show even hints at being more graphically limited in actuality than we're typically shown. So to really hit this idea home, I've commissioned friend of the channel Chantaco to take my key art for a non-existent game manual and turn them all into 3D models as they might have appeared running on vintage hardware. He might have shed a few polygons, but that is still that for schlugging a rabbit I hate, Jax. Wait, Jax? Jax? Like a jackrabbit? Jax? Is that why he's called that? Has it really taken me 3 years to piece that together? Then again, it took me until the finale was imminent to even think of a video idea for this show, so I guess timeliness is just not the black and white guy's strong suit, if you can believe it. And there's plenty more of that to come. But first, this episode of The Harry Gold Show was brought to you by today's sponsor, ZocDoc.
Hello, Doctor. My name is Zach Duck. Oh, has anyone ever told you your name sounds just like... I know what it sounds like! I'm constantly getting phone calls from people who want to search and compare local in-network doctors, or who want to see actual appointment openings and instantly book a visit, and I've had it up to my crop. I keep telling them that's what ZocDoc does, not Zach Duck. I don't have more than 150,000 providers within 200 plus specialties across all 50 states, or tons of reviews from real patients and detailed doctor profiles to help people choose the right one. So then, what can I help you with? I may have gotten so fed up that I sprained something throwing my phone out the window. Well, that would explain the receiver-shaped fracture in my last patient's x-rays. Don't they know ZocDoc requires no phone calls? All it takes is simply clicking the link in the description to easily book online for free. Well, if they did, you wouldn't be, don't say it, quacking up. Taking care of your health just got easier. Head to ZocDoc.com/HarryGold to check that appointment off your to-do list today.
Now, by way of contrast to Jax's more Western approach, Pomni, who just so happens to be this show's delightfully neurotic protagonist, most evokes for me the Japanese-style platformer mascot of the 90s instead. Think somewhere between Klonoa from Klonoa, Knights from Knights, and Sonic from, you guessed it, Joe Montana 2 Sports Talk Football. I'm talking blancmange-faced, nasally unfurnished, and prudishly modest about the metacarpals. Even this jester aesthetic was oddly prevalent in the age of the Spice Girl. This same stylistic cross-referencing pushes us towards a very specific set of proportions too. Immense noggin with miserly body, long string cheese legs, and big boxy extremities. Also, I only just noticed while designing these, despite borrowing just about everything else that makes up a classic cartoon character, Japanese designers never adopted four-fingered hands. Sonic and Mario both have all of their gloved digits present, and conspicuously unamputated. Here's Kinga, the lovably brain-damaged chess piece. He went out of his mind and into our hearts. Checkmate Charlie here is actually a decent fit for our destination decade already. Wearing your eyes googly and misaligned was very much in vogue back when Backstreet was back. This period also really made floating hands a staple of video game creature design, starting in Japan and spreading until it eventually sucked the ulnas out of the West's game industry as well. So I see Kinga as being somewhere between Rayman and Earthworm Jim, but without the cowgirl sushi. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, whatever you're picturing in your head is incorrect. I suspect in the home improvement years, Kinga would find himself a part of what I call the Tall Smile Club as of this moment now. Through the 80s and into the following decade, weirdly vertical grimaces became a popular dental fad among cartoon folk, particularly in tandem with the aforementioned lopsided peepers. In fact, they would probably make all his proportions more exaggerated and wacky altogether, but even so, it's still recognizably our Kinga. Kinga? I hardly know her. So how would I get her to play checkers with me? Kane is the AI MC, FYI, the amazing digital ringleader. Well, as much as there actually is a circus to be ring-led. Outside of the big top, it's really not much like a circus at all. No trapeze acts, no clown shows, no PETA activists trying to mercy kill the trained animals. Now at first blush, Kane gives me the vibe of a party game host character. But most of those didn't come about until after the turn of the millennium. Rather, I'd say Rodney Dangerfield here, and indeed his whole oversaturated domicile, feel more like something from a 90s point-and-click adventure. Somewhere between LucasArts and Sierra's quirkier offerings, like Day of the Tentacle or Space Quest, and the more expressly child-friendly humongous games, like Putt-Putt and Pajama Sam. As I mentioned before, skew-whiff goggly booglies like these were perfectly in place back then. Eyes Inside a Mouth, on the other hand, are a little more unorthodox, I'll admit, but from the zanier and edgier end of the point-and-click stick, entirely believable. I'd even go so far as to say somewhat conceivable. Furthermore, I'm striding out on that limb to assert without any possible access to empirical evidence that in those days Kane would have had lips. I can just feel it in my bones. My 90s senses are bugging. Just a big red Botoxy pair of chop-smacking, up-puckering, face-sucking snog factories. I mean, at the very least, I can guarantee it'll make fanfics easier to write. What's more romantic? Luscious and pillowy kisses, or playing tonsil hockey with an incisor? Next up is Bubble, Kane's AI sidekick slash employee slash confidant slash the worst Jiminy Cricket stand-in since, well, the last time anyone took advice from ChatGPT. Now I've heard of pop psychology, but this is ridiculous.
Wow!
He looks shockingly like a chain chomp from the Mario games, though considering that generative AI is essentially just a plagiarism randomizer, I guess that does make logical sense, even if Nintendo's lawyers might dispute the wisdom of it. I suppose if anything, it should canonically be a surprise that more of these aren't kinda copyright questionable. Yeah, okay, well, never mind then. But as the aforementioned dog-flavored cannonball is indeed a character of the period and medium in question already, we really don't need to change much. But I will anyway. If this were to not just be a beady-eyed Xerox of Mario's 12th most popular recurring enemy, Bubble evokes for me something between a Digimon and a Kirby character. So I'd flesh it out to be more of a full-figure creature with nubby hands and shoes, of the kind you so often used to see on small video game enemies. Do you reckon they all went to the same shoe store, or a size 43 featureless coloured clogs flying off store shelves everywhere? Alright, let's be for real here. Have you played a 90s video game? Because I sure have, and I've seen what it looks like when animal mascot characters have a love interest or female counterpart in those kind of games. I'm talking Candy Kong, Torna Bandicoot, Berry from Conker's Bad Fur Day. And let me tell you, they have two big things in common. blonde hair and pink clothes. Let's face it, Ribbit 1995 would be stacked. Built. Broad where a broad should be broad. She'd have the body of a pin-up model and the face of a schoolroom dissection. Kermit the Frog? Someone's about to commit crimes against nature with that frog if they ever turn her into a toy. A shock of blonde hair that clashes with the fur, skin, and all-knowable biology of the ladies in question was also a fashionable look at the time, especially done up in a vaguely athletic ponytail. Does any of this make even the slightest sense on any genetic level? No sir, it does not. Would that have stopped even a single solitary game dev in Clinton's America? Absolutely unlikely. Instead of that pink bow tie, which is a clip-on by the way, yak. Gag me with a spoon. She'd probably have a sporty pink tank top and short shorts. I'm sure there's a frog legs joke in here somewhere, but I think you already get the message. Anyway, big sneakers seem to have been a popular accessory for the unsettling inhuman thirst trap of yesteryear too. So hey, at this point, why the heck not? Now Ragatha is challenging, because obviously she's derivative of Raggedy Ann. The show even quotes her movie regularly. This makes her not only a reference to an entirely wrong era, but also the wrong medium as well. No, please, I hate it when you make my life easy. Keep it up. And while admittedly, even at the best of times, an AI is not going to care if it's infringed upon somebody's copyright, so in this decidedly lawyer-free zone that's beyond a moot point in universe, we still don't want to just make this a copy of a licensed character, because unlike AI, we do care about our work. And also not getting sued. So instead, we're spinning this sucker off in an entirely different direction. The triangle nose reminds me of game designs like Katamari or Animal Crossing, which came just past the closing out of the 1990s. And the tapering stump legs also evoke the aggressive cankles of the Mega Man series. And frankly, that's good enough for me. I'm hauling off to Japan and taking Ragatha's aesthetic underpinnings with me. The skirt is now shorter, the eye is now several glints shinier, and her bangs are so luxuriantly voluminous they could give the poor woman a pressure headache, if her skull wasn't made of felt and cotton balls. Then how about Gangle, the earth-shatteringly subtle metaphor about wearing emotional facades like a mask? Fortunately, my IQ is like super high and stuff, so I notice these things. Yeah, it's a gift. Anyhow, the number one thing that Gangle makes me think of is a Mario character, because by Booster's beard, that franchise loves a mask. Bandits and Sniffits and Phantos and Shy Guys, Bezos and Tweeters and Jasons and Fly Guys. So I'd definitely push the comedy tragedy design in that direction, and throw in a pair of inverted glow-in-the-dark pupils for free. Though really the main thing I think the 90s would change about Little Miss Uzumaki here is the general androgyny of the design. Most of the time back then, they insisted on making sure you knew when you were looking at a lady, so Gangle's vortex of ribbons would almost certainly be used to form a skirt and something resembling hair. She'd probably also be less of a weeb too, but I don't really know how to incorporate that into the design, so you'll just have to feel it in your soul. Korfmo, the custard-coloured clown, immediately reminds me of the Neverhood with those beady eyes and bratwurst kisser. Though that game had a pre-rendered clay aesthetic, which was seeing a surge in popularity at the time. Good year to buy stocks in Play-Doh. While we want to take Andy Kaufman here in more of a standard 90s cartoon direction. In fact, liver lips like these were a fairly fashionable accessory in animation design of the period, so Glitch has us off to a strong start in that regard. They also frequently paired with an excessive array of gnarly looking teeth, so the Amazing Dental Plan Circus this is certainly not. Off-balance beady eyes as well as the general circus carnival theme also come together to remind me of Sam & Max Hit the Road, which brings us neatly back to the world of 90s point-and-click adventures. And also wacky game worlds where the second most important character is a mentally unstable comedy relief rabbit with weird teeth. But that's getting tangential. Oh hey, it's Zooble, everyone's favourite mix-and-match misanthrope, not to mention easily the most authentically Oasis-era character in the show. To the point of borderline trademark infringement, in fact. See, old Zoob here is just a big fat jumble of Zolo blocks, a toy whose hideous medley of clashing colours and discordant patterns could not possibly scream 90s any louder if Macaulay Culkin was booby-trapping his house with them to fight Vanilla Ice and Kurt Cobain. I remember playing with them myself, actually. They're basically a Tinker Toy if Tinker Toy was made by Tim Burton on acid. If anything, the show version really isn't enough of a cacophonous assault on my eyeballs to feel truly authentic to the period. We want to see murky polka dots, the black and white Beetlejuice stripes that were still so popular back then, and as many different colours as Kane's theoretical 32 to 64-bit processor can handle. Now all that said, from a video game perspective, I do see Zooble here as also fitting into the aforementioned point-and-click aesthetic pretty well. Especially the works of Humongous Entertainment, where a kid's toy made animate would be right at home. And if they're lucky, they might have just scraped in before product placement for children was outlawed. Cha-ching! And finally, say hello and goodbye to Scratch, the most plot-significant character to have absolutely 0 lines of dialogue whatsoever. Shut up, Germany, I don't want to hear it. Winnie the Pooch here also has those classic cartoon-style gloves, not to mention a Donald Duck-esque shirt and no-pants ensemble. Breezy. That puts this cute, cuddly, cancer-ridden canine pretty firmly in vintage cartoon character territory, which, you may recall, happens to share approximately 100% of a Venn diagram with platformer mascot territory. But we can go even further than just injecting 100 cc's of Collectathon into Scratch's fuzzy derriere. If we really want the 90s dripping from this guy's saffron-colored paws, P-O-R-E-S, not P-A-W-S, you know, with the accent, dog, it could go either way. Whatever. We'd slam a big, fat with a PH backwards baseball cap right on his doofy doggy dome. And hey, while we're at it, why don't we stitch a rad self-referential logo right into that cheap mass-produced t-shirt of his? You couldn't be any more period accurate if you cheated on your wife with a White House intern, or married your wife's adopted daughter, or just straight up murdered your wife and got away with it. Man, they really did not care what you did to your wife in the 90s, did they? Where's Kinga? And that is basically it. A full suite of 90s style tad redesigns done and dusted. Well, everyone that matters anyway. I really couldn't care less about Gummy Goo or Orbs Man, which, believe it or not, aren't names I just made up on the spot, for any non-TADC fans who are still here. Besides, if Gooseworks can say, screw you, who cares about Kinga's wife, then darn it, so can I. It's news to me that it's news to you, that this show's aesthetically askew. I could have let it go, but in the end, who am I kidding? I'm too finicky and also cynically. Might this get some views? So time to party like it's 95. Back to before most of you were alive. I'm fixing all the styles, cause it is styles I am obsessed with. Now don't you see what this show should be is low poly count and pixel density. Now say so long at only half the song. That's all from the Harry Gold Show. Bye now. Let's play a game. I'll draw someone famous, and 3 people that guess who it is in the comments get a shout out in the next episode. If your guess last time was actor John C. Reilly, you were absolutely correct. Johnny's rule from the Wheel of Winners is the 3 correct guesses with the longest handles. Drawings of Dr. Rajasaurus made no bones about picturing the right subject, taking first. Theo the time-traveling dandy was in the right time and place, tying for second with Jared Warrenheim's Special Boy. And Kingfisher Talking Pictures was recorded soaring to 3rd place. Well done, everyone. Thanks for playing. The mouth on this week's subject is so wide that left-hand laugh line rugs up for winter at the same time the opposite dimple is getting about in flip-flops. The head is so unabashedly pudding-shaped that stepping under the mistletoe at Christmas time comes with a severe risk of becoming dessert. And the latest science shows this person's limpid, washed-out eyes are actually that wide set due to tectonic drift. Now who could this be? If you know who that was, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to point and click at that subscribe button. But this has been the Harry Gold Show. So until next time, stay safe, and God bless.